Hey guys, it's Craig, and today I'm going to be talking about some things that you should consider before hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. So, to start this video off, I just want to say that this list is not going to be exhaustive. It is not going to cover everything by any stretch of the imagination, since the Pacific Crest Trail, like all other thru hikes, are such long journeys and can be anywhere from 4 to 6 months long, maybe even longer. Maybe if you're an insane human being, shorter than 4 months if you're really trying to crank out those miles. I was not one of those human beings. So yeah, just to hop right into it, one of the very first things that I think I would do differently with the Pacific Crest Trail is I would hike less mileage in the beginning. Before I went out on the PCT, I was a pretty active person. I still am a pretty active person. I was probably running like 30 miles a week, a lot of walking, just some biking. I ran cross country. I was overall like a pretty active person. So I thought, well, why not? Like, why not just hit the trail and try and put out some really big miles at the very beginning? Well, I'm telling you right now, at least for me and my body, you have to know yourself, is for me, that was a mistake. That was a mistake, and that is definitely something that I would not do it like that again. I remember the very first day on the PCT, I hiked like 20 miles from the terminus all the way to this place called Lake Marina, which is right around 20 miles. Remember, I was hiking that day, and like 15 or so miles in, I was still feeling pretty good. I was feeling like, this isn't such a big deal. Like, I can knock these last 5 miles out. Well, I just remember in those last 5 miles, I got really bad shin splints. Just both shins, just in a ton of pain. I was limping, and I was not doing well, and I was trying to race there for the milkshakes because Lake Marina, their milkshakes close at like 7, and I wanted to get there, so I was really hauling to get myself there for that milkshake and maybe some beer. But when I got there, I was hobbling, and then those shin splints lasted until about mile 77 when I was in Julian, California, and that's where I took my first zero. My shins were in pain. And I really had to decrease my mileage after that because I had to remind myself, and this isn't really something that I think you can know what it's like unless you've done something like this. I had to remind myself that I still had like 5 or 6 months left of hiking, and that there was no need for me in the very beginning to be pumping out like 20 miles a day. So after that, I definitely dropped my miles a pretty considerable amount, from about 20 to probably around like, I don't know, anywhere from like 10 to 15 a day, and just taking it a lot easier on my body, which was very, very helpful and helped me avoid injury for the rest of the trail by gradually building up my mileage and not just pumping out miles right away. So the second thing that I think I would try and at least go into with a different mindset, just like I said in the title of this video, maybe just consider this differently, is when I went into the PCT with all my research and everything, something I always heard about, but I didn't know a ton about, except for like in my own social life, was the concept of a trail family. Like I said, I had never done anything like the PCT before, and I had heard about trail families. I had heard about these groups of people that you just meet, and you all kind of mesh, and you get together, and you all hike together. And in the beginning, I was really, really nervous about finding a trail family. I kind of myself err on the side of being a little bit more anxious about meeting new people and trying out these new experiences. So when I started the trail, I started completely alone, like a lot of people do. I started at the terminus down in Campo, California, and I was alone. I didn't know anybody on the trail. I had talked to a few people on the Facebook groups. I had maybe conversed with a few people, but I went out there and I started alone. And I remember thinking like, man, am I really gonna meet anybody? Like, I didn't really see anybody too much at the beginning when I got at the terminus. And I was just feeling really nervous about it, and I kind of got into my head, and there's a lot of anxiety and nerves around that. But I swear, within the first day, I had met so many people. It was kind of overwhelming, honestly. I remember like 4 miles in, there was a water source, and there was a ton of hikers just packed in around it. You know, we're in the desert, it's hot, and we're thirsty, so everyone is there getting water. And I remember looking around being like, there's a lot of people out here. I didn't really expect to see that many people like right away, but by the end of the first day, I had met so many people, and I think by the end of the first week, I had already developed into a pretty good, strong trail family. It probably like anywhere from like 6 to 12 people. Trail families, they can move around, they can fluctuate a lot. People leave, people get hurt, people hike ahead, people are behind you. There's a lot of fluctuation with trail families, and there was definitely a learning period for me in there. And I don't know, that's something that I can ever read about, or really anybody can ever read about, and really know what that's like to be within a trail family. But I know that when I went into it, I was nervous, I was scared, and I was anxious. I didn't know if I was going to meet people. I didn't know if I was going to be hiking alone. I didn't really have a goal in mind with what I wanted in regards to that. I kind of just let it happen, which was great. I really enjoyed it. I went through probably had 3 or 4 different like trail families throughout the whole experience, which was amazing. Met a ton of amazing people, a lot of amazing experiences together. I think though, if I were to go back and hike the PCT or a thru hike again, I might be more intentional about it. I might just try and be more intentional about who I'm with and who I'm spending my time with and everything. And just recognize that when you go out on these trails, you're not going to be alone. You're just not. PCT was incredibly social. You just meet so many people. People were so welcoming and so inviting to me that really I didn't have to try that hard eventually. People just invite you to come do things with them. And the next thing you know, you meet people that are hiking the same pace as you. They have the same goals as you. And you just kind of end up meshing with them, and you just go with them. And it's a really, really amazing thing. Along the lines of a trail family is the concept of hike your own hike. Being in a trail family can be great. It can be a ton of fun. It can provide that social atmosphere. They can support you when you're feeling down. They can get you through those days where you're thinking, I'm gonna quit. Today has been terrible. I have a hole in my pants, my backpack broke, and my stove broke, and it's raining outside, and everything sucks. On days like that, I would not want to be alone, and I've had a few experiences like that where I feel like everything just everything went out the window, everything, and it just was terrible. That's part of thru hiking though. Things can really suck. But it was my trail family that got me through that. And that part of trail families I find to be absolutely invaluable. However, when I was in a trail family, and this might just be me, I sometimes felt pressured to stick with the group. Sometimes I felt like I needed to go into town, or I needed to hike X amount of miles. I needed to hike this many miles or this many miles. I needed to camp here and everything. I just remember sometimes I felt a lot of pressure, and sometimes I went into towns that I didn't really want to, but I wanted to stay with other people because honestly, like, I was nervous. Sometimes I was nervous. I felt a little scared, and I didn't really want to be alone. And when I developed these bonds with some of these people, I just wanted to stay with them, even when I didn't really want to, if that makes sense. So if I were to go back and like talk to myself back then, I would be like, hike your own hike, Craig. Do your own thing. Listen to yourself. Listen to your body. Listen to what your brain is telling you. And it's going to be okay. It's just going to open up more opportunities to do other things and hike your own hike and do your own thing. And the last thing on my list that I really think you need to think about when hiking the PCT is forest fires. Forest fires recently on the trail have become something I can almost guarantee you will have to deal with, and you have to know what to do. I don't claim to be an expert in forest fires. I don't claim to be an expert in how to navigate, how to stay safe. I am just here to explain my experiences, what I learned, and some things that I might do differently, when really with forest fires, there's not a lot you can do. Sometimes you are just at the mercy of Mother Nature. You are at the mercy of the weather, or that one lightning strike, or that one person who had a lapse in judgment and decided to light the forest on fire. I grew up in California, so I'm not really a huge stranger to forest fires. We're pretty used to them, places being smoky, fires just popping up. There was some huge fires this last year in California. And if you didn't know, the Pacific Crest Trail goes the entire way up California. I believe it is about 1,691 miles of the trail is in California. And forest fires are a very real thing that happen almost every year now. And I think if I were to go back and tell myself, hey Craig, you're gonna have to deal with forest fires, like, just have that in your mind, be ready for that, and be flexible. You need to be flexible. When I was hiking through California, we got through almost the whole state with no problems, with almost no fires. We were in a place called Syad Valley, and then this crazy wind, lightning storm blew through, and then this big fire just erupted overnight. And unfortunately, we couldn't cross into Oregon via the Pacific Crest Trail, which was a massive blow to morale for quite a while because the trail was closed. We got a ride from was it Jackson County or the Johnson County Sheriff, from Oregon, and they gave us a ride out because the fire was spreading so fast. It was terrifying. And then, so we had that big fire, and then all throughout Oregon, we just had more fires, more trail closures. And the saddest part was when we were about 80 miles just shy of touching the northern terminus. I was in Stehekin, Washington. Another fire erupted in British Columbia, and on the Washington side of the Canadian border, and they closed down the terminus. We couldn't get to the terminus. We couldn't touch it. There was just no way. Some people made it. Most people didn't. And really, there's not much you can do about that. There's not much you can do in that situation. Fires just happen. I knew they might be a possibility, but I kind of shoved them to the back of my head. And I think if I were to go back, and one piece of advice that I would give is recognize that these days, with the way things are going, that I think your best bet of getting to the northern terminus is by hiking. I know I said in the beginning, like, don't put out huge miles in the beginning, but I really think that if you're gonna get to the terminus and you want to, like, go foot for foot, get that unbroken footpath, I'm not a purist or anything, but I definitely tried to hike as much available trail as possible. And I really think you do need to push yourself eventually, whether that be around mile 500, 600, 700, mile 1000, whatever it might be for you. I do think you need to recognize that fires are gonna start, and it's gonna get hot, and it's gonna get uncomfortable, especially in like June, July, when you're getting into Northern California. If you can push through and you can get through Northern California, there's going to be fires, but the best piece of advice I think I can give is, if you want to try and miss those fires, hike more. Take less zeros, hike bigger miles, or just hike more, take more Neros than zeros, and If fires happen, you need to just be safe. Use your judgment. I met a lot of people who there were forest fires and they neglected the closures. They hiked right through. I have my own personal opinions about that. I think that is very unwise. I would never do that. The trail is closed for a reason. Not only are you putting yourself in danger, but anybody else with you, you're putting in danger, and you're disrespecting the trail. You're disrespecting the trail, and you're disrespecting the Pacific Crest Trail Association. I met a lot of people who did that. I don't recommend that. You guys are going to do whatever you're going to do. But yeah, fires are a big consideration you need to have for going into the Pacific Crest Trail. So guys, that's my list. I'm sure there is more stuff out there. These are just some things that I thought of the other day, things that I have told other people. Like I said earlier in the video, this is not an exhaustive list. This does not cover everything. These are just some things that I would go back, maybe do differently, things I would reconsider that might just make my hike more enjoyable, make it different, or just make it a different experience overall. Can't change the past, I don't know. But these are some things that I learned while hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, and I hope that this helped you guys out. But I would love to know, what things do you guys consider when you're going out on through hikes or long distance backpacking trips, weekend trips, overnight hikes? What do you guys consider? What are some things that whenever you go out there, you have a little checklist in your head and like, I need to think about this, I need to consider this? I'd love to know. Leave me a comment below and let me know what it is. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, and if you want to hit that subscribe button, go ahead. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what else you guys want to see out there, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks so much. Take it easy.